Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a country that is filled with people who care deeply about their communities, about how to make life better for the next generation, for immigrants, for single moms, for their neighbors, for total strangers, for pigs, where people volunteer because they really enjoy helping others. Where is this magical land with fairy dust-laden people? Let me introduce you to America. Hi, welcome to Tangible Hope Project. I'm Jonathan David Martin, and this is a web series, documentary, vlog, road trip, a vlogumentary, if you will, about individuals and organizations that I met across America that are working to make their communities a better place to live. You guys are actually my first interview.
Are we?
Yeah,
I thought you
on
had, okay.
this whole trip. So I just left this morning from Alexandria, Virginia.
John looking good on camera.
Oh gosh, there's not enough makeup out there.
A week before this first interview, I was here in Washington, D.C. And if you've never lived here before, imagine that all of the national news is your local news as well.
Return the result of an election with unelected people.
Right, that news. Makes a lot of people, myself included, just want to pull the covers over our head with a bottle of whiskey. Or maybe that's just me. But it also got me thinking that there have to be other stories in America right now about people doing meaningful things that do make a difference and don't make the headlines. I wondered what I could ask anyone, anywhere in the country, that could help me find out what people actually loved and wanted and wished for about the places where they lived. Because, hey, I have to admit, I don't actually know a lot about what matters to people in other parts of America, what tangible hope might mean to them. But, like most of us, I sure have a lot of assumptions about it. I want to find examples of what tangible hope is for people living in communities outside of my little urban bubble, and what I can learn about these communities through these conversations, rather than just what I think I know from my Twitter feed. So I mapped out a route, got a crash course in videography, jumped in my car, and hoped that I could find people who might inspire me, or at least talk to me. So today you're coming with me as I start my 5,000-mile journey across America. We're going through the state of North Carolina, stopping in two small towns with two very different community-based organizations. The first stop is in Henderson, and I think it's worth noting that I knew basically nothing about this organization before I sat down and interviewed them on the first day of the road trip. But I saw their name and figured with a project optimistically called Tangible Hope, they might be a good place to start.
What inspired me to be in the Optimist Club? I always remembered the bike rodeo. I think it was 1988.
Ah, the bike rodeo. Like many kids of my generation, Matt's young life was changed by a small plastic statuette. And it kind of exemplifies the really simple but important mission of the Optimist Club of Henderson, a community of volunteers who run programs to help the young people of Henderson become successful adults. Or, as Matt put it,
And breaking bread together, having some fellowship, and keeping your focus on what can we do to help the youth in Vance County. That any child has confidence. They understand their abilities and the blessings they've been given from the Lord.
and I think you'll understand why creating programs to help students is so important to Matt and John if you get a bit of a picture about Henderson itself.
I think there are a lot of different sides to our little community. I think it has a lot of dimension to it. There's a lot of history to it. It's a small little town where you have a railroad track that goes in the middle and divides the city, county. And on one side, people have more money than on the other side. It has always been that way.
Like many towns in rural North Carolina, Henderson's always had its economic ups and downs as companies like Corbett Trucks, Americal, and tobacco processors came and went. Nowadays, almost a third of Henderson's residents live below the poverty line.
We have many children in our school that are homeless, that are living with grandparents, or they just go from one housing to the other housing to the other housing.
This is where the Optimist Club comes in. Their programs Attend and Win and Read and Win are competitions for students at E.O. Young and 5 other area elementary schools. Apparently, a prize in pizza is an incredibly powerful motivator.
You know, they love it. Something about pizza and kids, I don't know, they just love it. We're at like 98% attendance, which is really great for a very rural school.
The Optimist Club also gives out 2 $3,000 scholarships per year, one of the largest local scholarships available to Henderson students.
I definitely think that this scholarship has helped reduce the financial stress and burden for college. I definitely have not had to work and have been able to not be stressed out financially.
We need to teach the kids independence. And I think a lot of the things that we're doing in the club, hopefully they'll grasp into, hey, I don't want to be dependent on my family. I want to stand on my own 2 feet. I want to go my own way. I want to, just like you are. Hey, this is my idea. I'm going to run with it.
Speaking of running, let's leave Henderson for a second, jump back in my car, and dash 200 miles west to another little former manufacturing town called Hickory. Nestled in the eastern foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Hickory is a town known for its long history of furniture manufacturing, bucolic scenery, and
we are known for the world's shortest Pride Parade. Outright Youth is a center for LGBTQ youth and their allies here in Hickory, North Carolina. And so we have a space here, a physical space, where LGBTQ youth and their allies can come hang out. We are in the South. We are still a work in progress as far as rights for LGBTQ folks in general. Some of our kids are not out at home. Some of our kids are not out at school. So for some of them, outright space is really the only space that they have that they can truly be themselves. So Outright's goal is to start a conversation with folks in our community. And we feel that if we sit down and have a conversation with them about the LGBTQ community, we have a better success rate of getting them to understand how the LGBT community works and who these folks are, as opposed to going out and and telling them they're wrong for having the opinion that they have. And our hope is, even if at the end of the conversation, they have not changed their mind, that they go home and think about it, and maybe do their own research and maybe come hang out with our kids and see how our youth are and see that they are just folks and they do deserve the rights that everybody else has.
But maybe the most radical thing about Outright Youth in a community like Hickory's is the creation of a safe space with donated designer furniture.
A lot of our kids don't go to school together, so this space is the only time that they have to communicate with each other and to hang out.
The space is just a storefront, really, but it feels like a well-designed living room with a drum kit. My favorite thing is the quote wall.
So the kids can come in and they know where the talk is. So if there's any quote that's on their mind, whatever they're feeling at the moment, they can come in and write it on the wall and share it.
Quote walls, civil conversations, a safe and supportive space. Small, but meaningful things that I often take for granted.
So, 20 years down the road, I want all of our LGBTQ youth to be able to walk down the street holding their partner's hand and that be completely acceptable and welcomed into our small town.
After I left Hickory, I thought about how, even though they went about it in very different ways, both the Optimist Club and Outright Youth were passionately focused on making the lives of the children of their towns better, so that those kids could build a better future for themselves, and so that some of them might want to stay in their small North Carolina towns, continue to call them home, and find their own way to give back to their community.
There's a reason why we live here, and there's a reason why we're in the Optimist Club.
So our goal here, while we have the kids here for the 2 hours twice a week, is to build them up, to show them that being LGBTQ does not stop them from doing anything that they want to do.
Yeah, now I would like to read you this. This kind of sums up the club in one meeting: leadership, hard work, hope, understanding, and most importantly, a prayer which acknowledges our belief in God.
That they can be happy, they can be healthy, and they can be successful. And if they choose to stay here in Hickory, North Carolina, they can do that here as well.
But I think now, knowing what community Henderson has and growing up in Henderson, there's a better chance that I might move back in the future.
So maybe these two organizations aren't that different after all. Both the Optimist Club and Outright Youth see a need in their towns and are finding the best way they know how to do something about it. And getting a glimpse of these places through the eyes of people who are so engaged in their community makes Henderson and Hickory more than just random places on the map of North Carolina. And a reminder that the story of every community is more than just the sum of its statistics or its voting record, and a lot more than what I think I know from my news feed. The story is also made up of the efforts of thousands of people in every corner of the country who are starting their own local movements for positive change. And this is the start of Tangible Hope Project, because there's a lot more towns, and stories, and America out there where unexpectedly inspiring things are happening. I'm going to leave you with a phone call that I received from Matthew Todd of the Optimist Club in Henderson a few days after this first interview, because at the time I wasn't sure whether this whole project was a good idea. I was just driving across the country, winging it, making it up as I went along. But then I got this call, and well, take a listen.
But you got to know that you're an oddity. John said you should have called the paper after you called the country club. He said because this was really cool, and I was like, look, man, I'll be honest with you. I had my doubts. I didn't know how this was going to go because they're foreign to us. You blessed us big time, man. I'm going to say, yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to stay in contact with you, man, because I'm really having a good time seeing your posts on Facebook and talking to you every once in a while to hear about, because you're going places that we've never been. And you're doing something. It's the most worthwhile road trip I've ever heard of a person taking. You're not wasting your time, buddy.